frame of mind, something I observe a lot. I was a kid, I've been like a conspiracy head since I was a kid, so it's no big deal to me. But a lot of people now are looking, they're like, wait a minute. The things that I thought were in control of the world are not in control of the world. And they're just like starting to realize that there's all these machinations and players going on behind the scenes. And it's creating absolute paranoia because these are not people that were built by their temperament, nor have they had the experience to kind of ease into this. You know, for guys like me, it's like old hat. But for them, it's terrifying. It's like truly terrifying. And how do they find some stability? Like, what do you say to them when it's because it is true that there are forces that are controlling things that we don't see. How do people hold on to some faith and some optimism in those circumstances?
There's two ways really to do the path, and there always have been, and it probably always will be. And one is you have to have complete and utter renunciation. And very few people are built for that.
Hmm.
And that renunciation is you're unconcerned with the world. You live in it, you work in it, you're part of it, you do your duty in it, but this is not, you're just passing through.
It's taking that biblical maxim to the its full limits, like
Yeah,
truly living in the world, not of it.
that's correct. And the other one is another version of that is to you take every experience you have as a message of your inner self or God or the cosmos to you. You ascertain what that message is, and you are now using everything at your disposal for your path. But your path better be one of awakening, not just one of trying to extend your good time.
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean you can't have a good time doing it, but that's not why you're here exclusively. Now, if you look at the notion of time, the apocalypse from the Christian viewpoint is a historical linear event. If we look at the Indian or other philosophical views, they look at time as cyclic. So the world is seen as the playground of the gods. Doesn't matter what happens here. This is just a playground. Doesn't matter what happens.
Hmm.
And that's a very difficult concept for people because how do they maintain the proper attitude or the proper view in the midst of profoundly disturbing experiences? You know, some people really love excitement. They love it. And some people really love war. They're known as war junkies, war addicts. And you saw the study of them started in the 60s, maybe the 50s, but really the 60s. And it had to do with kind of obsession with why are all these guys being mercenaries, particularly Africa. Africa was a huge place for mercenary involvement. And a lot of these guys, they just really liked what they did. And if you would ask them, some of them it was a bizarre cruelness. But if you asked others, it was not unlike what you would get from your average veteran, as many have said to me. Everything I had to do was clear.
Right.
I was a man among men. There was no ambiguity about anything. Now, that's a great way to live. So, how can we do that where the battle is not outside, but within ourselves? And if we win the battle within ourselves, then the battle outside, if there is one, becomes much easier.
Hmm.
And we see that discussed in the Bhagavad Gita with Arjuna's discussions with Krishna.
Hmm.
I think part of the problem, too, is in the West. We have not had a good philosophical or religious capacity to understand or address the fundamental predatory nature of nature. There's a predatory aspect that we don't deal with well. We avoid it. We try to avoid it.
Hmm.
You had sent me a video and it was really funny. Excuse me. It was this fellow who spent his time in Canada in the outback, far, 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 far outback. And he's reading letters from other people who do the same thing for their professional life.
That's Steve from How to Hunt. I just want to give it a shout out. It's a great channel, everybody out there. Steve, How to Hunt. It's a great YouTube channel. But sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, put a link in it for them. Put a
I
link.
will, I will.
And he had similar discussions as to who was that fellow we mentioned, 411,
Oh, David Paul leads.
David Paulides. I think this other fellow, the one you sent me, was a little less sensational.
Mm.
Yeah. They had a lot of the same comments, a lot of the same ideas for the listeners who are paying attention. And this guy was talking, he was reading a letter from someone who's out in the out back there. They talk about the stuff that happens that people wouldn't believe. And, when you're out there, and particularly like my friends who've been in South America, Central and South America, they just, everything wants to kill you in the jungle.
Right.
It just does. It wants to kill you. And we're not good with that. We don't handle that well. We want to think of nature as being all wonderful and beautiful and friendly and bunny rabbits and foxes and the little baby deer that come to my house. That's what I want it to be.
The
I don't want
bunnies are just food for the bigger ones.
That's it. I don't want to think that there's a Sasquatch out there or a Wendigo. But if there is, I'm ready. Which is another interesting point I just want to bring up. Jean Dubuis made a joke, and it was a half serious joke decades ago that, ceremonial magicians seem to be rarely seeing UFOs or extraterrestrials. So if you see one, just do a banishing ritual, send them on their way.
Oh, that's interesting. I never would have guessed he would have addressed that.
Oh, I think he knew Jacques Vallée very well. They were part
Oh,
of
wow,
this.
really?
I think they were in the same circles. They were running in
They were
similar
both
circles.
French.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
I never made that connection.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, and then of course you have that wonderful fellow who did a documentary maybe 1, 2, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I remember listening to it in my car as I was waiting to pick up my son from a night class, and it was on Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, yes, yeah. I've read that book.
Now, of interest to you is that UFOs and Bigfoot sightings tend to go hand in hand. And in the early 70s, one of the largest areas of sighting was in Western Pennsylvania in the Pittsburgh area.
Hmm.
Yeah. And there's some good documentaries and books on that, by the way. Now, I don't get obsessed with this. If they come my way, I'll take a look at it. But the funny part is I'm listening to this documentary and the guy goes, well, me and the boy, we saw something out there, a silhouette against the sky. I guess it was like a full moon or something. He goes, so went inside, got the 30-06 and some tracer rounds.
Don't know what it is, just shoot at it.
He goes, I saw the fluff as the bullet went through it and it didn't move. Fired another tracer just to see if I hit. We're like, yeah, that's right. Don't know what it is. Shoot. And where do you have tracers? Like, where? Of course he does.
Right.
Of course he's got tracers. Who doesn't, right? Better, he's a boy. Be prepared. Be prepared. So, you think about that, if these things are real, and there's a wonderful series of videos by Navajo police officers, and they're more than police. Please understand this. These are not like borough or state police officers. They are exceptionally highly trained men in various search and rescue and survival methodologies and first aids. They're very, very highly trained. I would say they're kind of more of a paramilitary force.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that was my impression too. When I listened to them, their stories were fascinating, but I was also just impressed. Like he took his job very, very well. The two guys, they took their job very seriously, and they were like elite.
They were elite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's it. If you don't know what to do, you want to find men and women like this. You want to find people like this and aspire to be like them. You want to create role models in your mind of men and women who have dealt with similar situations, who deal with uncertainty, who deal with chaos, and have come through.
Mhm.
That's going to require that you read books. You may have to read a variety of books on different topics. You may find that they don't always suit your political uh, tastes because of the way things have gone for the last 20 years, but you're going to have to read them anyhow and say, how does someone deal with this situation? How does someone deal with these great problems in life? And, and then when those Navajo guys, when they talk about what they've seen and experienced, I have no doubt in my mind,
Right.
none whatsoever, that this is legitimate. So but they have a cultural framework that allows them to manage that.
Right.
And that's what circles back. So one of the things you have to look at is, what is the culture I am building for myself, my family, and my friends? What is the culture? What is the world I want to live in? I want my children and grandchildren to live in. And how am I building that,
Hmm.
creating that?